Obviously, different calibers of ammunition at different distances with different types of bullets of different brands have different effects. Today we're just going to scratch the surface with looking at a few of these different types. I could probably go on for 3 or 4 hours about different types of bullets, but we're going to hopefully go on for only a few minutes. One of the things I want to look at is some of these really expensive ammunitions that you buy, are you really getting the most bang for your buck out of these things? I don't know. Let's find out. All 4 of these bottles of soda were shot with the exact same gun, exact same caliber, a .45 ACP. 230 grain round nose full metal case, which just put a hole in it, split the jug a little bit. 230 grain jacketed hollow point, which just put a hole in it and split the jug a little bit more. 185 grain jacketed hollow point, which did quite a bit more damage. And a 185 grain ballistic tip, which arguably did even more damage. Would it surprise you to know that all 4 of those jugs were shot with the exact same gun, the exact same caliber? The only difference was the type of ammunition I was using. There were different bullets in each one of those. The first one was 115 grain full metal case round nose. Now you can see, here's your entrance hole, and the hydrostatic shock split the bottle a little bit, and then an exit hole out the back. Not a real big deal. The second one was a 115 grain hollow point. Entrance hole, which actually tore up a little, and then the exit hole is very big, and you saw it knock the bottle a couple of feet. Third one was also a 115 grain hollow point, but a different brand, and it put a hole in the front. Hydrostatic shock split the bottle, and then a little bit bigger hole out the back because now that bullet is expanded. The fact that the damage doesn't appear to be near as much doesn't mean it's less powerful, just the differently designed bullet doesn't expand quite so quickly. You might get more penetration out of this type. And the last one was a 147 grain hollow point. Now the thing is, the 147 grain hollow point is slowed down so much by its excessive weight, 147 grains versus 115, that the hollow point in this medium doesn't expand very much. The entrance hole is not a big deal, and then the exit is split by the hydrostatic shock. Not all that dissimilar from the way the full metal case was. 147 grain bullets in 9mm are something that some people think are great. I don't think the results back that up. That was interesting enough at 7 yards. Now let's shoot one of these bottles of soda at 25 yards, first with the .45, then the 9mm. At this distance, the much slower bullet of the .45 is going to have slowed down enough you might see a difference in the effect. Let's find out. As you can see, the amount of performance the .45 delivers at 25 yards is good, but not near what it did at 7. The reason for that is one thing. This 230 grain hollow point bullet slows down so much in that short change of range from 7 to 25 yards that it's lost that much performance. The entrance hole isn't as dramatic, it didn't blow the cap off, it still performed, just not near as much. Hollow point bullets are based almost entirely on the velocity that they're propelled. .45s don't generate that much, and I know you can get plus Ps and lighter bullets and so forth, but that disparity in performance at ranges is still readily apparent. Now let's try that with a 9mm and see what happens. I don't think I need to say much about the performance of that. Now remember, these are the exact same design and brand of bullets. The only difference is, at a longer distance like 25 yards, the 9mm with its much greater velocity has a lot more velocity when it hits, so retains more effectiveness. .45 is a great round, and at normal lethal confrontation distances, 7 to 10 yards, it's a great round. But at longer distance, the 9mm with its higher velocity will retain more performance out of a hollow point. Oh, and in case you were wondering, This is a Steyr GB, came out in the 80s. It was actually considered for military use, but the Beretta beat it out for reasons that I don't understand. Outstanding pistol, and no, you can't buy one. They're very rare these days. You saw me shoot this bottle of soda at 25 yards with a 115 grain 9mm hollow point. I just did that again with a 147 grain hollow point. And as you can see, the performance was quite a bit less. And that's one reason, because that 147 grain bullet out of a 9mm goes so slow. Now there are people that say it's a better round, people that say it penetrates more, and that could be under certain circumstances. But testing in this format, it doesn't perform as well. There's another thing you gotta know. I went to the store and bought these 2 boxes of ammo. 115 grain hollow points, this high performance 147 grain. I paid over $30 for this box of 147 grain bullets. And they say that they're all kinds of high performance. $30 for 25 rounds. These 115 grain hollow points cost me $17 for 50 rounds. Now, prices in your area may vary, but you get the point. Sometimes these really hype rounds don't live up to the hype. In filming this video, we went through quite a bit of soda. I got this at the dollar store. But somebody just asked, have I ever drank this? And the answer is no. Okay, there's a reason why it only costs $1 for a bottle this big. And I can tell you, it makes a better target than it does a beverage. These 2 bottles of soda were shot with 2 very different guns, a 25 ACP and a 45 ACP. However, they have a couple of things in common. Both were shooting round-nose full metal case bullets. And both of these guns produce, believe it or not, pretty close to the same velocity. The only real difference is a 45 has almost double the diameter of a 25. And as you can see, that is a big factor in the effect you get. Okay, so we shot a box of cereal. Mostly air is what's in this package. And you'll see, with a .44 Magnum at 25 yards, it just put 3 holes in it. Didn't seem to do much. But the same round from the same gun at the same distance blew this bottle of soda all to pieces. Why is that? 2 words: hydrostatic shock. Hydrostatic shock is what happens when you shoot something that's jellified like ballistic gelatin or aqueous like a bottle full of soda, and it's kind of hard to explain. The best way I can explain it is this. Here we are in the lake. This is the best way I can think of to talk about hydrostatic shock, is standing in the lake with water and a pancake turner. We'll get to that in a second. Hydrostatic shock, hydro, water, static, not as in the electricity, but as in the stasis of the water. You're shocking the stillness of the water, hydrostatic shock. How that relates is that when you hit the water with the pancake turner, you displace a lot of water. That's hydrostatic shock. How this relates to your bullet is velocity. If it goes very slow, it doesn't do much. Going very fast, you get a lot of water displacement. This is where the velocity of your bullet comes into play. Another thing is the caliber of your bullet. A larger caliber has a larger surface area. Now, if I take the pancake turner and turn it sideways and hit the water with that, it doesn't do near as much. It's the same size, the same weight, going the same speed, but all I've done is manipulate the amount of surface area. Turn it sideways, we get a lot of effect. This is what a hollow point does. As it goes in and hits whatever aqueous material you're shooting at, a jug full of soda, a water jug, an animal whose tissues are mostly water, as soon as it hits, it starts to expand, creating the same effect as if I just turned this as soon as it hits. You can't see a lot on the surface, but it displaces a lot of water underneath. This is the best illustration I can come up with of hydrostatic shock. That's about the best way I can think of to explain hydrostatic shock. But while I got you here, let me explain something called the blast effect. This is what happens at extremely close ranges when you get damage caused not by the bullet, but by the extreme force of the expanding gases coming out of this muzzle. The tens of thousands of pounds of pressure coming out of here as a result of the combustion of the propellant can create damage at extremely close range, like this. This is what you typically see in a contact wound and damage to the flesh. Any hunter who's had to finish off an animal at close distance has seen that. That was actually pretty cool. Let's see that again. Okay, now everybody make your serial killer jokes. Ha ha ha, okay, great. But that's the difference between blast and hydrostatic shock, and the two have nothing to do with each other. So let's do a penetration test. We're going to shoot the 147 grain 9mm bullet through 2 of our bottles of soda and into our high-tech water bath. And then we'll do that again with the 115 grain hollow point, and we'll see how much more penetration do you get out of the super expensive 147 grain compared to the 115 grain buy it any day of the week at your local store type of ammo. As far as the 9mm, this is your conventional 115 grain hollow point. It also lost its jacket, but it mushroomed really well. This is the 147 grain golden something or other, I won't tell you what they call it. And you can see that looks very pretty. And it did expand, and it did penetrate a lot. Compared to all of them, that went not only through both targets, but into our water bath and through a couple of feet of water. However, when you stop and think that before it did that, it penetrated 3 liters of soda, well, that is more penetration, but what is it you're planning on shooting with this? Unless you're planning on shooting an elk, I think the others, which cost a lot less and are a lot more readily available, are penetrating plenty. Okay, let's do that with the 45. Now, these are a very typical 185 grain hollow point that I think I paid prices on there, $35 for this box of 50 rounds. Let's see what these will do. Okay, those were 45 ACP 185 grain conventional jacketed hollow points. This is a different type of bullet from a different manufacturer, but it's also a 185 grain bullet, and it cost well over double the ammo we just fired. Let's see how this compares. So how did the two 45 ACP rounds compare? Well, both of them penetrated both targets, but failed to go into our water bath. Both of them had a great deal of expansion. Both of them did pretty well. Our first one, you saw, blew up your target pretty well. Your secondary jug, okay, and the bullet was actually in here. Our second one blew up your target pretty well. I mean, that's comparable, and maybe a little more. And blew that up pretty well, but again, failed to penetrate. That bullet was laying on the ground right here. And if you look at these two bullets close up, you'll find that the second one retained its jacket, but didn't really do any more than the first one did. Now let's take a close look at these two. This was your conventional, common brand, 185 grain hollow point. It lost its jacket. This was your something or other max 185 grain ballistic tip or something like that. I won't tell you what they call it. And as you can see, it has a little more uniform expansion, but you didn't really get a whole lot more performance out of it. In my opinion, not enough performance to justify the fact that it costs over twice as much. Okay, we could have gone on all day about ballistics and different types of ammo. Just wanted to show you a few different things with a few different types. But before we finish, the camera crew wanted me to demonstrate that contact wound with the 44 Magnum on a water jug. So we'll see how that goes. But before I do that, 1, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and 2, thanks for watching the Disaster Contingency Specialist Ammo Selection shoot. Damn!